This is your prime time forecast for East Alabama and West Georgia from Dr. Don's Weather. Dr. Don's Weather is made possible by the Randolph County Commission, East Alabama Waste, Southern Auction Solutions, Genesis Weight Clinic, Jimmy Stevens Construction, Anchor Roofing, the Town of Wadley, Auction 431 South, the Salem Auction House and Bama Diesel Repair. From the Alpha Weather Center, powered by Fincher Fence, Estate Masters, Boondocks Barbecue and Creamery, Southern Union State Community College and the venue at 5 Points Farms, here's Dr. Don.
Well, how to do, East Alabama and West Georgia. Welcome to the frozen tundra this morning. It is brutal out there across East Alabama and West Georgia. The only good news I got for you this morning is the wind has finally died down. It's still a little breezy over here in Georgia, but for the most part, across East Alabama and West Georgia, the wind has laid down, and we don't anticipate any more major wind until we get toward our next storm system, which will be here on Thursday night into Friday. Whole lot about that coming up in this morning's edition of your primetime forecast for January 7, 2025. It is National I'm Not Going to Take It Anymore Day. It is National Bobblehead Day, and it's Harlem Globetrotter Day. Remember those guys from back in the day? They're still around. Thank you to the town of Wadley, Alabama, for being a partner with us here on Dr. Don's Weather. Mayor Donna McKay and the town council, we appreciate you guys over on the West Bank, and I invite you to check out their website. You can look at them on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Wadley Town Hall, town of Wadley, over on the southwest side of Randolph County. Get your ducks in a row with Dukas. Jamie Dukas can handle your insurance for Alabama, and he can write insurance now in Georgia. 256-831-7770 is the number to call. You can go to the link at the top of the video on Facebook, bottom of the video on YouTube, and get in touch with Jamie. It doesn't cost you a dime, and he'll let you know if he can save you money. In most cases, he can, and there's zero obligation. You can do it with very little or no interaction, or you can come sit down in your living room. However you want to do it, Jamie Dukas is your guy for insurance coverage across Alabama and Georgia. All right, let's talk about it because there's a lot to talk about out there. We have got cold, high pressure in place across Alabama and Georgia this morning, and that's what's providing all of the cold temperatures out there. We will struggle to get out of the low 40s and upper 30s for daytime highs between now and Thursday. The coldest night of the season will be tonight. We'll drop into the upper teens across most locations in East Alabama and West Georgia. And winter weather potential is increasing for East Alabama and West Georgia. We did our Weather Talk Live last night. At that point, it kind of looked like maybe some frozen precipitation early Friday morning and then quickly changing over to rain for most of East Alabama and West Georgia. And then about 45 minutes after we finished our Weather Talk Live, the OZ run of the NAM model was released, and oh my, it told a much different story for East Alabama and West Georgia. Not surprising, though, because that's what's going to happen. As we take a look at the numerous different models out there each time they run, and they run at different times every day, multiple times, we're going to see something different, and they're going to bounce around all over the place. But the OZ run last night was painting a very ugly picture for East Alabama and West Georgia, really all the way down to Eufaula, Alabama, maybe even Ozark and Troy, back over into southwest Alabama. It was showing significant icing on Friday morning. I still think eventually it will change over to rain on Friday morning, but exactly how long we stay frozen and how much of it is freezing rain, how much of it is sleet, how much of it is snow between I-20 and I-85 is a huge question mark. And we're going to try our best to resolve those questions and give you answers before we get to the event. But you got to understand, We do good to give you an accurate forecast in this type of setup 2 hours before it starts, much less 3 to 4 days in advance. So have patience as we head toward this event. This may be something that just isn't supposed to happen in the Southeast, so it's very hard to forecast. But one other big thing I want you to know, and I want you to remember this as we go through the next several days, a difference in only a few degrees will dictate impacts and precipitation types. And there are so many different things here that will have an impact on what our temperature is going to be when the precipitation starts. It's just going to be really, really difficult to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen and where, because there's so many different things that could change this drastically one way or the other. One of the things that the weather forecasters, the meteorologists are beginning to look at now is high pressure is going to be off to the northeast of Alabama and Georgia Thursday night into Friday morning. Is that going to cause a damming effect across Georgia and East Alabama? Very possible that high pressure spinning to the northeast could help pump more cold air into Georgia and Alabama, so we could have more cold air coming in from the east as well, and that air dams up on the backside of the Appalachian chain. When that happens, we see that cold wedge or cold damming effect quite often here in the southeast. So that's one thing to look at. Temperatures may be colder than we think they're going to be because of that one feature. Also, there's a pretty decent snowpack to our north. So this cold air that's spilling in from the northwest is not going to moderate very much as it pours into the southeastern United States over the next couple of 2 or 3 days. So again, there are opportunities there for the models to be underdoing the temperatures at the moment, and they may come into better agreement as we get closer to the event because they're using live weather balloon data as we get close to Thursday. So there's a lot of things to watch here. The exact placement of the low, the exact track of the low, the strength of the low. Does it phase? Is it going to be is the bottom going to drop in the barometric pressure? Just a lot of different things that could happen here that could change every bit of this drastically. But understand, if you're anywhere north of the Highway 80 corridor in Alabama, or basically the I-85 corridor in Alabama and in Georgia, if you're along or north of that line, you got to really stay in tune with what's going on with the weather because your forecast could change drastically. We're not ready to pull that trigger just yet, but there are signs there. There are signals coming from the trends of the models that we may have to push this frozen line way further south than where we have it right now. And here's the latest graphic from the National Weather Service, and they have actually bumped it a little bit further south now from what we were looking at last night. We're still calling for a limited impact area across most of East Alabama and West Georgia, with a few slick spots on the roadways, limited to bridges and overpasses. And then basically along the I-20 corridor in north, elevated impact areas will be there with difficult travel conditions. Seem to be, at the moment, a pretty sure bet. We could be looking at some significant snow accumulations, especially up along the Tennessee Valley region and back over into Georgia, across the Appalachian Mountains, maybe as far south as Gainesville. In Georgia, we could be looking at 4 to 6 inches of snow. Again, the exact track of the low-pressure system and the strength of the low-pressure system and the temperatures that are in place when all of this starts Thursday night late and into Friday, and how long we hang on to frozen precipitation before we change to liquid. And across the northern regions of Alabama and Georgia, we may not change to liquid at all. We may stay frozen the entire time, which would significantly increase the anticipated snowfall amounts and the accumulation amount. So still more questions than answers on this potential winter storm, which could be a significant impact for some locations across Alabama and Georgia on early Friday morning, throughout the day on Friday, and maybe even lasting into Friday night for Northeast Georgia. So remember, regardless of what kind of precipitation you end up getting at your house, it is going to be brutally cold all the way for the remainder of this week. So you got to remember the 3 Ps: pipes, pets, and people. And also pay attention to home heating. If you're using electric space heaters, whatever you do, folks, do not use extension cords with those electric heaters. Make sure there is a 3-foot buffer zone around an electric heater. In other words, you shouldn't have it right up against the wall. You shouldn't have it close to a window where there are drapes. Shouldn't be close to a couch. Should not be close to a bed. There's got to be at least a 3-foot space all the way around that heater. And make sure it is plugged in directly with no extension cord. We have more fires that start during the winter because of space heaters. And, of course, fireplaces. Make sure your fireplace is in good working order. In any case, make sure you got a fire extinguisher, especially if you have a fireplace. You get one of those chimney fires, one puff of a fire extinguisher can put that out. I can tell you that from experience. Been through it. Make sure your pipes are protected. Of course, you got to have a warm place for your pets. And check on folks who may not have adequate heating. If you're going to be outside, make sure you dress in layers. And make sure you protect your skin. You need head covering. You need gloves. Just be careful out there. Be mindful of this cold weather. We're just not used to it here in the Southeast, so we have to be extra careful when this kind of stuff happens here across East Alabama and West Georgia. All right, so let's take a look at your current conditions at the venue. This is down in Chambers County, Alabama, northeast corner there at 5 Points at the 5 Points Farms. Currently, we have 29 degrees outside. It feels like 22 because we still have a little gusty wind out of the northwest at 10, occasionally hitting 14, but that's going to be dropping off significantly this morning. Humidity is at 77%. The barometric pressure, 30.27. Dew point, 22. That's awfully dry. High temperature yesterday was 61 degrees, but that was at 1:07 yesterday morning. As you know now, the temperature, as we told you it was going to, was on the decrease all day long yesterday. And that wind picked up out of the northwest. And my goodness, by the time you headed home from work yesterday afternoon, it felt like Antarctica out there. Sunrise this morning at 6:46, and the sun sets this evening at 4:51 p.m. We're headed for a mostly sunny day. That's the good news. We'll get to see plentiful sunshine today. And if you're standing out in that direct sunlight, it's going to feel warmer, much more so than it did yesterday. But we'll make it to 41 in Roanoke, 40 up in Lineville, 39 is all we'll do in Ranburne, 40 in Franklin. And we top out at 43 in Valley, Alabama this afternoon. Here's your 6-day forecast from the Alpha Weather Center. Jamie Dukas, your local Alpha agent. For today, we're looking at full-blown sunshine, no chance of precipitation, 41 this afternoon, down to 21 tonight. Some of you are going to drop into the upper teens. On Wednesday, sunshine, 42 for your afternoon high. 19 will be your overnight low on Wednesday night. Some of you may get down into the mid-teens. Then on Thursday, we'll start the day mostly sunny as we work toward the afternoon. Clouds will start to filter in from the southwest. We'll hit 43 in the afternoon. And then we drop down to around 28 degrees for your overnight low Thursday night. I think by midnight Thursday night, we will begin to see precipitation across West Alabama, maybe southwest Alabama. And sometime after midnight, we start to see some of that overrunning precipitation, across East Alabama and West Georgia toward 2, 3, 4 a.m. Thursday morning. No question here, I don't think. We will start as a mixture of freezing rain, sleet, and snow across East Alabama and West Georgia, maybe as far south as the I-85 corridor. But the $64 million question this morning is, when will we transition from frozen precipitation over to liquid precipitation? If we hang on to frozen precipitation for 6 or 7 hours on Friday, then we could have some real problems out there on the roadways. So that's just a possibility. It's not a forecast at this point, but it certainly bears watching. If you're along and north of the I-20 corridor, odds are you're going to stay frozen the entire time, especially or at least up until around noon or 1 or 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. Then, Atlanta Metro up to about Roswell, and in Alabama from Anniston up to about Coleman, you may change over to freezing precipitation for a while. But if you're north of Coleman in Alabama, north of Roswell in Georgia, odds are pretty good you're going to stay frozen, and it may be all snow. And we could be looking at snow totals of 3 to 6 inches across North Alabama and North Georgia, if the latest information verifies. So we're talking about 35 for your daytime high on Friday, with that mixture continuing up until around noon, and then maybe switching to rain, maybe switching back to frozen precipitation Friday night if there's enough moisture left. 32 will be your overnight low Friday night. Then on Saturday, mostly cloudy. There could be a few flurries around with wraparound moisture as the system digs down across Alabama and Georgia as it moves on off to the northeast. 37 for your high on Saturday, down to 23 Saturday night, and then on Sunday, back to sunshine finally. 44 will be the high. That'll feel like a heat wave. Down to 27 on Sunday night. A lot of information there for you. So let's take a look at your Southern Union State Community College Live Doppler HD radar this morning, showing no precipitation across the entire southeastern United States. So that's what we're looking like on the radar this morning. So we plan on doing another Weather Talk Live this evening, and we'll plan on doing one each night this week at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll have much more information. We'll be a little bit closer to a resolution by the time we do tonight's Weather Talk Live, and then, of course, tomorrow night we'll have more information, and that's just kind of how it's going to work until we get a little closer to this, and then we'll cross our fingers that we've got it right. Just if you're anywhere in Alabama, if you're anywhere in Georgia, with the exception of the coastal regions, you really need to pay attention to the latest weather information as this system develops and evolves over the course of this week. Hope that you'll take an opportunity to support us if you can. We ask that you go to the top of the video on Facebook, bottom of the video on YouTube. You'll find multiple different ways to support Dr. Don's Weather. We need you, and we thank you for your support. If you own a business, send me a message on Messenger today, and I can have you started by the time we do our Weather Talk Live this evening at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, right here on Dr. Don's Weather.
This has been your primetime forecast for East Alabama and West Georgia. From the Alpha Weather Center, powered by Fincher Fence, Estate Masters, Southern Union State Community College, the venue at 5 Points Farms and Boondocks Barbecue and Creamery, Dr. Don's Weather is supported by the Randolph County Commission, East Alabama Waste, Southern Auction Solutions, Genesis Weight Clinic, Jimmy Stevens Construction, Anchor Roofing, the Town of Wadley, Auction 431 South, the Salem Auction House, and Bama Diesel Repair. Be sure to like us on Facebook, share us with all of your friends, and subscribe to Dr. Don's Weather on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow morning with another edition of your primetime forecast on Dr. Don's Weather.